What's up? So this is gonna be my second video today. Like I said, I'm trying to get it out right now. It's 7 o'clock, so hopefully I'll get it out before it's too late. Um, Sometimes they take a long time to load, but I'm gonna try to get this one quick. So this is gonna be my review for the first 3 episodes of Fallout Season 2. Now, um, episode 1, I kind of don't remember that good because I watched episode 1, then I waited a few weeks and I watched 2 and 3 together. Um, last night. So I don't remember, like, I remember it, but I don't remember every detail of episode 1. And also, I was pretty sleepy last night. So I might miss some things from episode 2. Maybe I'll watch them again and then do, like, a video about things I might have missed or thoughts on the future of the season. So I'll get to that. But as it stands right now, I do remember I had decided on a rating for episode 1 when I first seen it, and I did think that the episode was a 7. Now, at first I was gonna give it an 8, but once again I wanted to give more room for improvement. And like I said, 7 is technically above average, even though, like I said, sometimes I try to rate them on how our grades were in high school. Like you need a 70 to pass. So that's how I've always thought of it. Like 50 never was average to me. But when thinking of scores, like when IGN does their scores or different channels do their scores, and they're saying 7 is good or above average, I always thought like 7 is just like just passing. And so a 6 to me would be like not passing. Like I really like don't watch it if it's a 6. Not it's average, So to me, 7 is more average than a 6. 6 is like below average, with average being good. So 7 being good, 6 you could say average if average is something like if you don't want to watch average things. But so like I said, my whole rating system still, like I said, it's not like everybody else's because I feel like 7, and maybe that is how IGN does it too, because they don't really give below 7s that often. But like I said, to me 7, well, in terms of video games, but like I said, to me 7 is passing. Below 7 is a fail. You failed on the episode. Now maybe I should adjust those scores like I was trying in some recent reviews for other shows. I was trying to do it where 5 was average, but 5 just doesn't feel average to me. Like if you're rating people and you're like, oh, she's a 5, I don't feel like that's average. Like I said, I feel like a 7 is average. A 5 or a 6 is like, you're not actually looking good. You're just not bad looking. I feel like 4, 3, 2, 1, that's bad looking. 5 and 6, you don't look good, but you're not like, ew, I want to look somewhere else. And then 7, you look good. So I'll put it as that. So the episode starts, like I don't want to give too much too many spoilers. Like I still want people to watch the stuff. So the episode starts with an action-packed scene with a lot of gunfire, explosions, blood and gore, dismemberment, and stuff like that. I did see where some people were complaining that Lucy seemed to have forgotten the lessons she learned in season 1, but I feel like that's not too bad because, like, yeah, they did do it so to set up the scene because she can't just just be um just be like the ghoul now. Like, oh, she learned from how the wasteland is, and so now she's like the ghoul. That would take away from the whole odd couple thing they have going on. But also, I feel how do I say? Also, I feel like um people even after people learn a lesson, they still go back to their old ways, old habits. And also, sometimes people need to learn the same lesson 5 or 6 times, and then that's when they'll finally start to really act according to the things that they've learned. Uh, so her still trying to make peace and give people another shot. I didn't feel like it was that bad because she knows it's unrealistic now. Like when she's talking to them, she's like option two, you could let us go. She knows it's far fetched. Not far fetched. She knows it's a long shot, but she still has to try because that is her personality, and that is the type of person that she is. So in terms of that, I will say that she is growing a little bit where she doesn't expect everything to go perfectly, at least in that first scene. Okay. Um, Elsewhere in the episode, it goes back to the vault, and we see, like, it's been a while, so I'm forgetting these characters. The lady with the eye patch, who she was in the same vault as Lucy, and she becomes the leader of the other vault. I believe Lucy was started off in vault 33 with 32, and then they switched over to vault 31, or maybe she started with 31. Like I said, I didn't rewatch the first season. Watched a lot of stuff since then. Lots happened since then, so I don't really remember it. I probably should have did a review. Like I remember it, but details like, oh, what vault was she in and what vault did they go to? I know it's 31, 32, and 33. You know, so there's that. So we see her just dealing with the guy that she got with, and him like having to raise her baby a little bit, and she's got to contact the other vault. So all of that is going on. There's also, like I said, I might even get these episodes mixed together. That's why I want to do them all in a one review of the first 3 episodes, because, like I said, I watched one, and then I watched 2 and 3 together, so they're kind of like all blurred together, especially 2 and 3. But we also see, um, so we have Lucy and the ghoul. They go through that, and they're still tracking her father. They meet someone else, and then they see someone else that he's killed. Like there's just a guy laying there. He just stepped on him. So they're still on the way to Vegas, tracking her father. They have that woman in the beginning. So this episode is just, you see where everyone is, except for Maximus. You don't see where he is. You know. So besides Maximus, you don't see where he is, but you see where the other characters are. You see Lucy's father arriving in New Vegas. I believe that episode also contains some flashbacks to the ghoul's past life. And so overall, it wasn't nothing too special besides the beginning action scene. I feel like the episode would have needed that. It would have definitely gotten a lower score without that, because nothing really happened. Um, Too eventful. He arrives in Vegas, and it's like practically the end of the show. He just sits down and talks into a microphone, talking to Mr. House, who, like, he's not talking to anybody. So episode 2, damn, what happened to episode? Now I'm forgetting episode 2. Okay, so even though I watched episode 2 last night, I literally forgot. So I just had to have a quick refresher on episode 2. Um, so one thing I forgot to mention about episode 1 is that the guy, the nerdy guy, really nerdy from Lucy's vault. How he got trapped in Vault 31, and he got trapped with all the cryogenically frozen people in the brain. So how he's trapped in there. At the end of the episode, he decides that he's gonna unfreeze them, and that's how it ends in the cliffhanger. So in episode 2, you see first those people all thaw out. The one of the storylines, those people all thaw out, and now he's telling them that it's 200 years later. They're like, oh, what happened? It's supposed to be Reclamation Day. He's saying it is. He's saying like, oh, we're all trapped in here, and they're like panicking. But he's like, no, we're trapped in here because this is the test. You know, if we pass this test, and that'll prove we can carry on Vault Tech's plan. So he thaws them out. They work together. They get out. They reach the surface. You know, he's like their leader. And so that was cool. He's finally out of there. But now they're all on the surface. It's his first time like really seeing the surface. He's like, it's beautiful. They all think it looks like crap. But they were around in the past. He wasn't. So they saw how the world used to be. He didn't. Um so that's us. That's part of episode 2. Not really like his whole thing. I'm like, let's get this story going. Cause what is he gonna do? What is it gonna lead to? I'm sure it's gonna be something. So it's not too much of it's not like too much of a waste of time. But at the same time, it's like, let's see what this is gonna lead to. Episode 2 focuses a lot on Maximus and how he is now living with the Brotherhood of Steel. Now that, if you remember at the end of season 1, they raised this all hell Knight Maximus, and you know, because he took credit for killing that woman, even though he didn't. And I mean that his friend gave him credit. You know, he didn't ask for credit. He didn't say it was me. They just like held his hand up high, all hell Knight Maximus. So he is in the Brotherhood of Steel. Now he has a higher ranking, and the leader of his chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel is trying to get him and trying to work together with Maximus to take over. And they call the other, they find Area 51. Now, to me, it was just one bunker. That I had an issue with Area 51 being one bunker, definitely. But this is because it's supposed to be a whole military base. So I definitely, unless that's just the one bunker they found, and there's gonna be more. That was definitely annoying. Not annoying, but I was just like, really, one bunker. They find a lot of stuff in there. Now they have the ability to make fusion cores and power cores. So he calls the other chapters of the Brotherhood of Steel, and they make a plan to work together with the Commonwealth. They have a little debate in at first, but eventually they make a plan to work together to fight against the Commonwealth in a civil war. Well, all this is happening. Maximus's friend is saying like, you changed in how they used to quote the Brotherhood of Steel Codex as a joke, but now Maximus has been serious about it. And Maximus is like, I've actually went out there, and there ain't no good, like, we're the best there is, you know, in terms of everything. There's not really nice people out there. So the Brotherhood of Steel is the best thing left, and he's trying to make it better, you know. And he feels that way, you know, the whole time. So they're working together. He ends up getting into a fight with a big guy, challenges him to a fight. There's these two guys fighting in power armor. To me, I'm like, oh, come on, what is that? You're not even doing any damage to each other. And if you and it's not even damaging the power armor, but if you did damage the power armor, you're wasting it, you know. But, you know, they had this fight. He knocks the one guy out. I guess the suit took damage, but not really, or he got knocked unconscious even though he's in the suit, because it's still a helmet, but your head bounces around. You could get knocked unconscious. Whatever. The guy's laid out. He loses. This guy challenges Maximus to a fight. Maximus ends up beating the guy, killing the guy, and then that's when a knight from the Commonwealth shows up, and he's like, "Oh, I hear you guys were talking about a civil war, and I wasn't invited." So that's the end of the episode. Parts of that in Lucy's story, her and the ghoul are walking. She hears a sound in a building, and it ends up being a woman crying for help. She doesn't want to help. The ghoul wants to help. It ends up being the sound of a woman crying for help. She goes, Lucy wants to go help her, and the ghoul, of course, says it's going to be a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. They go inside, her and dog meat, and the ghoul go inside. They find the woman. She's wearing kind of like a turban and like cloths, and he calls her like raggers or cloth head rag or what something he says. He's like, they don't deserve saving. So she's trying to save her. She's asking her what's wrong. He's like, oh, there's another one. He walks over, slits the guy's throat, eats part of him, spits him out because he realized it's poisoned by a rat scorpion venom. So now he knows this rat scorpion's there. She doesn't realize. Boom, comes out. They get into a fight with the rat scorpions. It's a cool fight. He has a good kill on a rat scorpion. The lady gets stabbed by the rat scorpion too. And so Lucy decides to give the stim pack to the woman. He's like, oh, do unto others as they do to you. The golden rule, remember? Like that, like she told him in season 1. And she's like, that only applies to humans. She's gonna die. You won't. So I'm gonna come back for you. She's like, I'm still better than you because I'm still gonna come back to save you. He's like, you're gonna regret this. She's walking. She's like, oh, you're nice. She says she's going to Vegas. The raghead lady says, I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't want to get, sexually assaulted by the wrong people. And she's like, sexually assaulted by, like, is there a right person? But as she says that, you see that they get surrounded by the Legion, Caesar or Kaiser, and they get captured. They just behead the lady, and then they want to talk to Lucy about it. And she brings up how he should be called Caesar instead of Kaiser, because they're dressed like Romans and Kaisers were Germans. And, Macaulay Culkin is a character. Is that Macaulay? It looks alike. If that's not Macaulay Culkin, he's the most lookalike, and I'm pretty sure that is. I didn't check the credits, but I'm pretty sure I'm 99% sure that's Macaulay Culkin. And that's just sometimes people could look really similar though, but I'm almost 100, like 99.9% positive that's Macaulay Culkin. And so they capture her, and then we get to episode 3. Only other thing, Lucy's father doing experiments on the rats with the mind control thing, and it keeps blowing up because they're too small. He tries it on a person and blows them up too. Mind control devices that we did see in episode 1, and we see in the beginning of episode 2, because in the beginning of episode 2 we see where Sandy Shores is blown up by a nuke, and we see Maximus's father try to stop it, but he can't, and he saves him. So that's pretty much of the episode. We also had Maximus going, and he gets the device. He goes, so we see him killing ghouls, him and the other guy, and the power armor. They get the key to unlock Area 51, which is just one bunker, and then so that's what Maximus is doing in the beginning. So episode 3, now we have the Brothers of Steel. They're arguing because they had decided to do a civil war, but once the guy from not the Commonwealth knows about it, the one lady says, listen, give the Commonwealth the power cores. We're not into it. So they leave. um, Maximus is like, "Can I just kill this guy?" And the guy's like, "Oh, look at the dullness of the sword." He like disrespects Maximus completely. He's showing him mad respect, calling him. He's like, "I'm the shield, you're the sword, this and that." And he's like, "The soul is dull, sword is dull." Thumb's like, "I don't need opinions from a sword." Like basically saying Maximus is only good for fighting, and that's it. He makes all the political decisions. Maximus is just a fighter, blah blah blah. That kind of makes Maximus mad. So he decides to leave, and so I'm gonna have to. Episode 2, I did a lot of spoilers, and so I'm gonna try not to give too much spoilers in this. Maximus leaves with the knight from the Commonwealth. He explains to Maximus that things are better in the Commonwealth. They got spare armors and this and that. Like he's like Maximus, like, let me get my power armor. He's like, nah, I got a spare with me. Like you guys got extras, you know. And him and Maximus go on a trip where it seems great, you know, but they run into a character from that I didn't mention was in episode 2 because it's really like so short, you know, and like what is he even doing? I just remembered that his part, but they run into this character and things happen that might change Maximus's view or return his view of the Brotherhood of Steel back to his original view. And so that happens. Like I already spoiled, Lucy gets captured. So then the ghoul, he he goes there to try to save her. That the way that is resolved. He meets up with some other people, and so he has like a moral dilemma, and he's not sure if he made the right or wrong decision with what he decided to do to free Lucy because he's gonna need her. And I think this is once again another another wake up call to Lucy. Like every time you try to help people, it's really not helping you that much. Like, but I understand that she's not gonna change. She's gonna decrease how much she helps people overall throughout the season, of course, but her desire to help people is never gonna reach like absolute zero. She's always gonna want to help people. So, but she did waste that stem pack because I will, like I said, I already spoiled it. So she did waste that stem pack because she gave that woman the stem pack. They walked back. All it did was get herself captured and tortured for put up on a torture stick for a couple for some hours, you know, because the lady got immediately beheaded when they returned to the Legion. So it was a wasted stim pack. Um, it would have been better off given to the ghoul, and it would have been better off if she just avoided the Legion. You know, there is some NCR in this episode, so if you do watch if you played the games, you know they do mention that the NCR is still here, New California Republic, the Legion, got the Brotherhood of Steel, the cons. They mention the cons in this episode, so all of the major players seem to still be. Remember, the Institute was in season 1, so they're adding everything from the games, and it's really good. So episode 1, I gave a 7. Or maybe I'll give episode 1 a 6. If we're going 6 is passing, let's just do 6 is passing. 6 is average, the lowest passing grade. I can't give a 5 a pass, but like I said, I'll give a 6 a pass, and I still feel like episode 1 would be a 6 if it didn't have that fight scene in the beginning. Maybe a 6.5. Maybe it's a 65, just passing. I remember when I was growing up, before it was you needed 70 to pass. When I moved here, when it was in New York, you only needed 65 to pass. So, boom, that will give that a 6.5. Kind of, that still just seems so low to me. You know, I gotta give it a 7. If I like it, I give it. I feel like six has got to be something I didn't like about it. It wasn't really anything I didn't like about the episode. It was a starter episode, just letting you know where everybody's at. So of course it's not gonna be amazing, but episode two, um, the Brotherhood of Steel, I'll give that a seven. Also, I know you're saying, but it didn't really amp it up too much. Maybe seven and a half because it had more action. Not really. Episode one started with that big action. Episode two, though, we had the fight with Maximus. That was okay. Uh, Lucy's dad part to me was like, I get it. He's working. I don't really want to see what he's doing that much. Like they gave him like 5 minutes or 7 minutes of screen time. It could have been, like how many times do I have to see that he tried to blow up a mouse? Like I get, not to control this mouse. I see it didn't work. I showed him do it like for 4 minutes of him blowing up these mice. you know, like we get it. He tried it dozens of times and it didn't work. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was just 2 minutes. Um, so there's that. I feel like these episode three we really picked up. Is and now it's starting to chug along. Three, I'll give an eight. Like I don't want to give one and two an eight because they aren't as good as episode three. And maybe episode three is really a seven. So maybe one and two really need a six. I'm torn out. If you haven't noticed, I'm an indecisive person. Um, so I will say this: whatever you give the each episode, episode three is better than episode one and two. So maybe they both get a six, and episode three you'll get a seven, just so there's still room for there to be eights, because there's definitely not as good. You know, there's flashbacks to the past. We keep seeing the ghoul, or how he was supposed to kill Mr. House. We see him talking to Mr. House, and we also see him with a flashback to his old, with a meeting with his friend from the war. Um, so those were kind of lost on me. I'm not even gonna lie. For like a second there, I pulled on my phone real quick and might have missed something real quick when he was going through these flashbacks. Cause like I love the lore and I love like figuring out what happened in the past, but some of these flashbacks is not really figuring out what happened in the past. Once again, I could have looked a little looked a little into it more, but with this one, it's kind of like in this show, the flashbacks link up. So some of them, like the first couple, don't make any sense on their own, and as you see more and more, it builds the story. Because we did see him running back and his wife exiting to the vault, but it's like I could have sworn I saw that flashback like 5 times in the first season, or maybe like 3 times in the last couple episodes of the first season of his wife packing. It's definitely not the first or second time I've seen that in her packing and him talking to her again. So but um, episode three, for what happens with Maximus and the tension between him and his friend, like that's a little bit of you kind of like what he's going through. It's like why you like what are you expecting to do, kind of thing. Like he's got this position, he can't just dip out automatically and betray the Brotherhood. So it's a little annoying that his friend is so upset with him. But besides that, there's definite action and um a little bit of action where we see Maximus and that guy stopping to do some things, and they're growing together. They're becoming friends. It looks like Maximus is going to join the Commonwealth. And then there's something else that happens that may change things a lot this season. Going to be a definite big plot point. But we also seen an iconic weapon from the game show up in this episode. So with all of that, I'll give it an 8. You know, Lucy learns her lesson once again. So maybe for the rest of the season, she'll be more cautious, and we won't have to go through her learning that the same season one lessons all over again. Maybe she just needed a quick refresher. Like, yeah, it's still bad out there, but besides that, I think these first three episodes started off good, and there's definite potential for the season when they finally get to Vegas, and when her and Maximus meet up again, how that's gonna turn out. Because it seems like things with him and the Brotherhood of Steel might not go according to plan, might not go too smoothly. So that's that. That's my review for Fallout, and I'm gonna try to get more videos out more consistently this year. And I'll talk to you guys later. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope you have a happy new year, and hopefully it's the best year yet.